This episode is brought to you by 180 Markets, where it is our goal to bring every individual, fund manager, family office, or any qualified investor access to Australian Stock Exchange capital raises. If you are ever interested in how to access ASX capital raises in a super simple way, 180 Markets is for you. The sign-up process is easy. You just upload your ID, proof of your investor status, and your current brokerage account information. The settlement of shares goes right into your existing account, and you can access our very next capital raise. If you're interested in free, easy access to thousands of ASX capital raises, including placements, IPOs, reverse takeovers, and more, check out 180markets.com.au. Welcome to yet another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Medicine. Friends, we are truly in the golden age of medicine. The breakthroughs we've had in the last 10 years have been truly mind-blowing. We've probably had 100 years of breakthroughs in the last decade. But one of the things that's incredibly important with medicine is the delivery of medicine. How does it get into your body? What does the composition of it look like? It makes a huge difference in the impact. And with us today, we have Paul Gavin from Avecho, and their company deals all with maximizing its delivery, which gives a benefit to you as a patient, not only in terms of it works better, but also a cost benefit as well. And here with us to discuss it all, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. Nice to be here.
Hey, Paul, it's so important to hear about people's backgrounds, especially in the biotech and medicine space. Can you just spend a couple minutes telling us about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm a scientist by background. I've got a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, which I did, which seems like an age ago. And so, look, I joined the company 20 years ago, specifically with an interest in examining this proprietary vitamin E product that they had using my biochemistry background. And very quickly over the journey, sort of discovered that the TPM itself could self-assemble into nanoparticles if treated the right way and be used to enhance drug absorption.
Absolutely. So obviously you spent what probably is your entire career here. Just to get into it a little bit from a very high level methodology, what is TPM exactly and how does it help benefit people?
Sure. So as I said, it's a proprietary form of vitamin E that we have. We've put a chemical change to the vitamin E that enables it to self-assemble into tiny particles that are less than the width of a piece of human hair. And these particles you can fill with drug. And basically, when you fill the TPM particles full of drug, you increase the drug absorption. And so we've built a model of taking our TPM, reformulating drug products to improve their effectiveness. And so an example would be Novartis's Voltaren Gel. So we've reformulated it with our TPM to increase the amount of drug that's delivered. And if you deliver more drug, you've obviously got the ability to make it more therapeutic. And now Novartis in India sell that product instead of their Voltaren Gel as an enhanced superior product.
Absolutely. And so I said another way, as somebody that suffers from some pain, they put some Voltaren in their lower back and it just works better than without TPM. Is that a good way to say it?
That's it. It just, as you said at the start. So, I mean, drug delivery is quite hard. Most of the drugs that you eat or apply to your skin don't actually get absorbed into the body. And so if you can make twice as much of the drug become absorbed, there's obviously more drug available to have a therapeutic action.
Great. And obviously that delivery is so important in any type of drug. But specifically, I guess, drilling down more into Avecho, what's really exciting is that you have a potential use for it in the cannabis space that is, let's just say, going to make it highly respectable, highly pharmaceutical grade, if you will. Can you just discuss that for a moment, please?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the medicinal cannabis space is kind of unfolding at the perfect time for us. So we've got, this 20 years of looking at our technology, and over that period of time, our technology has worked best with molecules that are basically oils, so they don't dissolve in water, and they have very poor bioavailability. So you have to understand that the cannabinoid molecules in medicinal cannabis, they're all oils, and when you eat them, you only really absorb between 3 and 9% of the drug that, or the medicinal cannabis that you've swallowed. All the rest is excreted. And so we've already shown that our TPM will encapsulate and solubilize cannabinoids. We did a whole lot of work in Denmark showing that when you eat our TPM cannabinoid formulations, you absorb significantly a higher amount of the cannabinoids, so up to kind of 40 times. And so you can imagine that if you're eating them and you're increasing the amount that's absorbed, they've got a great, far greater therapeutic profile. And I guess to your point around the pharmaceutical part, our background is developing pharmaceutical drug products. We've always aimed to do clinical trials that support its use in labeled indications, support its registration with whether it's the TGA or the FDA. And that's not happening that much in the medicinal cannabis space. People are buying these unregistered medicines with little in the way of clinical support. And so we're setting out to build a really differentiated product that has the clinical trial data, that proves the material works, how much you should take, when you should take it, and allows it to be registered and available through any doctor, as opposed to going through some of the special access schemes and purchasing it that way.
Yeah, and I think it's important for investors to understand, you have conducted, I believe, 30 clinical trials over your career. So this is nothing foreign to you at all. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, the company, it's been around for a long time. We've done a wide range of clinical trials with a wide range of drugs. We've learned everything that we need to know over that period about sort of clinical development that we can really now channel into building a pharmaceutical cannabinoid, which there currently isn't any Australian-based pharmaceutical cannabinoids on market.
Yeah, and I think it's an important point for investors to distinguish is that we always hear cannabinoid, that term writ large, but what you are trying to do is to create a pharmaceutical grade one that is regulated. It's not in the off-market space, if you will. This is completely above board for those people that are maybe a little bit more nervous when they hear the word. Is that correct as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the minute it's registered, it comes with a dossier that proves it works. And so it's not that patients would go into and ask for medicinal cannabis hoping it would work for their indication. When it's a registered pharmaceutical product and you're suffering from, if it's anxiety that we eventually register and you go to your local GP and say, I'm suffering from anxiety, this would be one of the drugs that your local GP could prescribe for you.
Excellent. And for Avecho, what is the critical, can you just give us a timing path here from say today to when it would be potentially available for me to take for my back pain?
Sure. So we're about to start a couple of clinical trials. So we've got 2 clinical trials in the wings. One's a sort of phase 1 PK study, which is the first step in a pharmaceutical development program, which will start early next year. The other's a more observational study, which we hope to start very, very shortly, actually in patients. And I guess I'm positioning this, the answer is actually in 2 ways. So the registration of the actual pharmaceutical will a lot depend on a couple of TGA announcements which are unfolding, specifically around their change in the way that the CBD specifically will be prescribed. But the other aspect is that the same product could potentially be available through the medicinal cannabis space, through SASB and everything, in which case it would be available very shortly. But the pharmaceutical we're hoping will be registered in the next few years.
Absolutely. So there really are a couple of ways to win, so to speak. And it also sounds like, you know, as many of us know, to take a drug from here to really to production, in many cases, it could be a 10-year path. In this case here for Avecho, it's not going to be nearly in that type of time frame, it sounds like.
No, that's right. I mean, we're all waiting for this, as I say, this new guidance document from the TGA. Basically, if we talk about it, the TGA have announced that they are considering the rescheduling of cannabidiol. So cannabidiol is one of the ingredients in medicinal cannabis. It's the non-narcotic molecule. It's used for inflammatory conditions and a range of other things. And the TGA are considering repositioning it as an S3. And what's an S3? So an S3 is a class of drugs that can be sold directly by the pharmacist. It's one of those products that you can walk into the chemist and purchase behind the counter at the pharmacy. And so the TGA, given the safety profile of the CBD itself, are looking to reschedule it. They were due to provide an update to the space last week on what that means and what the registration looks like, but that decision has now been deferred till the end of December. But it's likely to describe the kind of work that's involved to get a product registered as S3, which none of us are expecting will be a 10-year journey.
Absolutely. And also, I guess, and maybe this is more of a higher level question, do you think that because, especially in the case of pain or anxiety, these topics have become such hot topics over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and frankly, COVID even has, I think, even heightened it. Do you think that the regulatory bodies globally know that there's got to be some type of balance between safety and speed? Has that shifted?
No, look, I mean, those of us from the pharmaceutical drug development space have been watching because we've been waiting for this to turn into a formal pharmaceutical. It will have to. So if it's going to be prescribed for a range of these indications that require medical intervention, the physicians need to know that this stuff works. And the only way they know it works is if it's registered with clinical trial support and safety support and, dosing instructions. So especially the FDA, we're not necessarily thinking that registrations will happen faster, because the FDA, America is a whole different beast, because they have recreational use in some states, which makes it even more complicated. Australia is medicinal only, so it's conceptually not as messy. But the regulatory bodies, they really are going to start treating this as a drug and requiring the same kind of information, both on manufacturing, safety, and efficacy that they do for all their other medicines.
Right. And I guess, also when we just think about the uses and the target market size, it's obviously in the billions and billions of dollars, because sadly, so many of us suffer from one issue or another, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's not another therapeutic like it at the moment, where it's being the one class of compounds is being prescribed for so many different indications, as you've said. So, I mean, realistically, over time, they'll start to reconcile, and the ones that it's really most efficacious for will rise to the top. I mean, where it's also a bit unique, especially I guess when you consider the stuff coming out of the natural product, is it's really it can be a combination of a range of different molecules. So the CBD, the cannabidiol, performs a different function to the THC, and there's some other cannabinoids in there as well. So moving forward, you would think they would be very well characterized. Everyone would understand the individual effects of all of the individual components and combine them in a manner that's most appropriate to whatever kind of illness patients are suffering from.
And that's where Avecho really specializes. As you say, you've been in the delivery space now for 20 years. You've conducted 30 trials. This is, so to speak, what you do.
Exactly. We're kind of underplaying how excited we are about the space because of where we've been, because all the deficiencies of the medicinal cannabis space are everything that we've been doing for the last 15 or 16 years, especially in the drug delivery space. So as I say, we're kicking it off now with the first steps, which are the clinical trials. The clinical trials that we're doing, especially the PK studies, are very rigorous GCP clinical trials, which sort of over and above what's currently done in the medicinal cannabis space. So even talking to potential partners moving forward, they're all excited to see the work that we're doing and how our formulations emerge from those studies.
And what do you think, I know that there's moving targets, but I guess the first results of these types of studies, when should investors look out for them around?
So the phase one study we're looking to tick off, it'll possibly start towards the end of Q1 next year. And so that's a relatively short study. It just depends how long it takes to analyze and crunch the data. And I'm always very hesitant to talk about high level results because then something happens.
Yes.
We look for that study, and indeed, the observational study that we're going to kick off even sooner. We are currently talking about really consistent news flow to bring the shareholders along for the ride and the market, and really high transparency so they can see where it's at. we're also along the way looking obviously to potentially partner the cannabinoids with other companies. So there's news flow there. And then there's the whole part of our cannabinoids business, which we're hoping to have news flow around as well. So maybe we'd start getting high level results Q3 next year on the phase 1, early Q3. But the minute I say that out loud, Greg, it comes back to bite me.
We'll see. Paul, in closing, as I said, it really, it seems like the wind is potentially at your back right now because, you're just, in a way, you're doing what you've been doing for the last 20 years. Do you have any closing words for the audience?
Look, to just really, I guess, have a look at the stock. The stock, we've got a lot of news flow about to start. We've got products that we consider to be highly differentiated and opportunities that others don't in the medicinal cannabis space. Or I won't even say the medicinal cannabis space. I'll say the pharmaceutical cannabinoid space, which will be clearly different and clearly differentiated. And we have a portfolio of pharmaceutical products available for licensing that, we're currently doing business development on to find homes and potentially derive revenue from. So the share price is rising because we've been quiet over the last few years and we're starting to go out and tell the story, especially around the cannabinoids, and we intend to continue that momentum. So there's a lot in the stock for the value that it's currently given.
Paul, thank you very much. We're glad to enjoy the ride for you and with you, I should say, and hopefully looking forward to the next couple of years together.
No worries. Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.